Tomorrow, November 1st, SNAP benefits are set to expire. And this has kind of sparked a lot of debate online between Christians and the role of government and the role of church, especially with these food programs. Now, there's 42 million on SNAP benefits, and that is a lot. And I'm sure that there is overuse, abuse. On the other hand, there are people who really do need it. I have a disabled son. I know that if we weren't in the picture, he would need these kind of benefits. So there is a role for it, because I know that if something happened to us, I don't know if the church is going to step up to take care of my son, and he will have to have those kind of state benefits to take care of him. So I have a heart for this, especially for the disabled community. But it got me wondering, where was the church's role in all of this through America? And how did it go from church handling a lot of charitable things to the government handling the majority of charitable things? So I did a deep dive, but I have a really abbreviated history to kind of go over to show you how this transition happened. We start with the 1600s to the 1800s. This is America's founding. This is where nearly every form of charity is handled by the church. And this is both Catholic and Protestant here in America. We're talking food relief, orphanages and adoptions, foster care system, hospitals, and healthcare, all handled by the church. Where it starts to change is the turn of the century. In the late 1800s to the early 1900s, we have the Industrial Revolution. All right, this causes great urbanization, immigration. There's a huge population boom all across the country. The sheer numbers just overwhelmed the church's system. Enter the social gospel movement. This was done by progressive Protestants in the early 1900s that wanted to apply social justice to the social issues of the day. Essentially, they're applying Christian ethics to the social issues caused by industrialization. Your hardcore poverty in the cities, your labor reform, there was child labor back then, things like that. So they did a ton of good in helping the poor, pushing labor reform, housing, healthcare, etc. However, what that did was it influenced the progressive era for these welfare programs. So from the 1900s to the 1930s, we start seeing government institutionalizing welfare programs formerly handled by the church. Great work by that movement, but the handover as the social gospel movement got involved in politics, pushing for laws, pushing for regulations and reform, got the government going ahead to grab control of that and start running with it. The church didn't decide to quit, right? It was largely outscaled and then it was regulated. But things start to shift in the next part of the 20th century. So in the 1930s to the 1970s, we have the New Deal. It solidifies government control over federal welfare. So the churches, they welcome the relief. Oh, thank God, we can't take care of all of this ourselves. The government's stepping in to help. But gradually, because the government steps in to help, the church reduces their charity programs. Trust then starts moving from the church to the state. All right, the Great Society of 1964 to 1965, this finalizes the handoff of charity and welfare from the church to the state. We're talking your Medicare, your Medicaid, your food stamps. Even the foster care system was regulated through the church through the 1950s. My dad, he went into the foster care system in the 1950s through the Catholic Church. Later, this was absorbed into the state agencies under new regulations, another government grab from the church. So private entities, churches that were taking care of this stuff, when they influenced through the social gospel movement and started getting involved with government starts taking things away from the church, and the church starts ceding that ground to the government. By the 1970s, charity becomes a tax-deductible supplement to government and public welfare programs. So government then monopolizes the social safety net, your liability, and your funding. The church ministries are sidelined and severely reduced in scope and impact. So where does that leave us for today? What is our responsibility as Christians in the church today? We have the government shutdown. The SNAP benefits are set to expire tomorrow, November 1st. There's 42 million on the program. Again, too many, probably a lot of abuse under there, but there are people that desperately need this and rely on this for food safety. The church's role, and I don't care what it is, you step up and we fill the gap. All right, we're called and commanded by God's word, by Jesus, Matthew 25, 35 through 40. Feed, water, and clothe those in need. Galatians 6:10 calls us to do good to all especially other believers. James 1:27 tells us to do good and take care of orphans and widows. Above all else, Jesus even said all of the law and the commandments of the Old Testament wraps up into love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. As you see the need in your community, your neighborhood, even your church, if other people that you know rely on these benefits and they will not get them tomorrow, donate to them, get them food, take care of them, feed the hungry. That is what we're called to do as Christians. Let's stop arguing about what the program is and whether it should be there or not. We have hundreds of years of a movement between church and state, all right, that's not going to be undone easily. The trust is in the state. The state is taking care of the majority of the charitable efforts. To get that back into the church's hand, the church has to step up collectively to do that.